Hi everybody, welcome back. Michael Sandler here, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted more motivation, toughness, perseverance, or grit, then do we have the show for you. Today we'll be talking with Jesse Itzler, former rapper, co-founder of Marquis Jets, a partner with Zico Coconut Water, ultra runner, one of the owners of the Atlanta Hawks, and the husband of the founder of Spanx, Sara Blakely. He's also the best-selling author of one of the funniest and most inspiring books out there, Living with a SEAL. And that's just what Jesse Itzler did for 30 days. He invited a Navy SEAL into his Upper West Side Manhattan apartment, not just to scare the Joneses, but where the man known as SEAL would train him unforgivingly for 30 days. There was only one rule. You have to do what I say. So today we'll talk about Jesse's challenge of living with a Navy SEAL, what he had to do, when he had to do it, what he couldn't do, bet you didn't know there's no peeing on a run, and why in the world it matters to the rest of us. That plus flashing underwear, 1-800-Playmate, talking one's way into showbiz, and one of the craziest first dates in the world. So welcome to the show, Jesse. Are you ready to shine?
Can't wait to shine. Can't wait.
So before we dive right into things, I'm dying to ask, what's the story of the big red chicken?
That's going to be the sequel. I can't share that yet.
Oh!
We got to get to know each other better, Michael.
All right. So then I'll go with another one. How did you first meet your wife?
So, good question. So my wife was a customer, actually, at a company that I own called Marquis Jets.
Yeah.
And we had a customer appreciation event in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And the event was super exclusive. It was thrown by Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. And our company, Marquis Jets, only had 40 invitations for 4,000 customers. So wow. each one of our reps had to send in prospective applicants. And the Georgia rep sent me a picture of a gal, and I told her not to send any other applicants to make sure that this person came. And it ended up being my wife, Sara Blakely. And we met at this event, mm-hmm. and we became friendly. And but to really kind of get her over the edge and get her on her radar screen, I called her company before I ran a 100-mile race and asked her assistant if they'd be interested in having a guy run 100 miles in Spanx for publicity.
Oh my God.
The publicist told Sara that another one of the lunatics was on the phone, and 12 months later she married the lunatic.
So let me get this straight. So you're running a 100-miler in Spanx. I believe you also got a whole table that you made a donation to get a table near her.
I did.
And then what was your first official date?
Our first official date was Sara came to New York where I was living. She lived in Atlanta at the time. And I asked her if she wanted to go to a quote-unquote spa, which mm-hmm. was really an illegally hot Russian sauna. I'm really into heat treatments and saunas and steams. Yep. And she agreed. And we went to this sauna place. And first of all, as you go in, they give you a paper bathing suit. Women don't get a top. So she walked in, and I really just met her, covering her top. And they take it to 190, 195 degrees of heat. Lord. And then when you literally can't take it anymore, they whisk you out, mm-hmm. put you under a shower, pull a cord, and glacier cold water falls on you.
Oh my God. And then do they have like birch or something where they're smacking you with this as well?
They hit you with the plaza treatment, the wet oak leaves. And, I loved it. I've been doing it every day pretty much consistently for a long time. And she didn't love it, but it worked.
And she was game. That's quite the test you gave her.
Yeah, it worked.
So let's go from there then, and let's talk a little bit about SEAL. How did you meet this guy? Where did you first see him? And it sounds like you're not somebody who takes no for an answer. What did you do to convince him that I want to be trained by you?
Well, it's an interesting story. I went out to San Diego to do a 24-hour race as mm-hmm. part of a relay team with 6 friends. We were each going to take turns running a mile, and whatever team runs the most miles wins. Mm-hmm. And for us, it was just about team building, camaraderie, fun. And the race was self-supported, which means, as you know, you had to bring all of your own supplies. They provided nothing. At the time, I had just come off selling a business, so we overdid it with our supplies. We had a tent, masseuses, massage tables, bananas, you know that. And but the guy sitting next to me at the start of the race, literally 10 feet away, had no team. He was running the entire thing alone. Mm-hmm. He he had he had 3 supplies. He had a folding chair, 1 bottle of water, and a box of crackers. That's it. And he was about 270 pounds. And by mile 70, because of his weight, he had broken all the small bones in both of his feet and a kidney failure. He was literally peeing blood. And I watched this guy on drive, grit, determination, I don't even know what force, finish the race. Literally like crawl across the finish line. And I was so inspired by what I saw that I Googled him. And I learned that he was a Navy SEAL, African-American guy, Navy SEAL with an amazing backstory. And I cold called him, flew out to San Diego, sat with him, and in about 10 minutes into our meeting, I said, you know what? All the different buckets in my life, from work to physical to my relationship, would be so much better if whatever he had rubbed off on me. Like, what makes a guy like this tick? What made this guy finish that race under those circumstances? I wanted the psychological side. And I literally just asked him on the spot if he would move in with me for a month. And he said, yeah. 3 days later, he was at our breakfast table.
So I've got to picture the breakfast table 3 days later. What is your wife saying and thinking?
Well, I said it super fast. So, I said, sweetie, I'm having a friend, just got a yes without her really knowing what was going on. And, but, they became super good friends. And my wife has always lived her life completely out of the box. She's an entrepreneur. She owns Spanx. She started it with $5,000 and a dream. And so she's really always put herself out there. So she was welcome to the idea of, learning whatever she could as well. And between Sara and David Goggins, who's the SEAL's his name, in the same house, there was so much drive for 31 days. It was like you open the door, you get hit in the face with drive.
Well, I kind of love that. It's something I've mentioned on the show before. You haven't heard this story yet, which is that we lived for 4 years on Maui. We came back here this past year. My wife had been very sick. She's much better now. And so we moved back here so she could heal. And there was such a different energy of Maui, which is kind of lay cool, and being just outside New York City, which is go, 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 that you get so much done. And so bringing him into New York City, that's like drive to infinity.
Right. Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, at the time that I hired him, which not a good word, but the time that he moved in with us, I had a great life. I'd sold the company, I was married, and I had a great routine. Get up every day and run, go to my office, come home, eat dinner, repeat every day. And routines are great, but they can also be a rut, as you know. And so many of us live our life in our comfort zone, and we get in this daily routine. I couldn't get out of it. I literally needed to go to this extreme to get out of this rut.
That's fascinating, because I don't picture you. I know it's not me, and I think we have a little of the same ilk in us. I don't think that's you. How'd you get in the rut? It was just the routine. I just got really comfortable. Now, for most people, my routine was great. I was running long distances every day. I was working out. I was eating good, but I lost my mojo because it became very comfortable. So if I was running 40, 50, 60 miles a week, whatever I was doing, that's a lot of mileage. That's great, but I wasn't getting better. I was running the same route, same pace, same everything, and it just became hard for me to get out of it because I got so comfortable in it. So I was operating at a high level, but I wasn't getting better. And I recognized, one of the greatest gifts I think I gave myself is I decided, I was in multiple businesses, that I was spending so much time on my business, but not enough time on me. And business is such a strong reflection of you. And if you improve you can improve your business. And I just decided that I had to get better. And he was exactly what I needed. Your subconscious knew exactly, just like you're saying, exactly what you needed, because he, from everything I've read, was all about him, not the selfish him, but about self-improvement. He was a running, walking, talking, training self-improvement machine.
Absolutely. He has this is a guy, if you don't mind, I'll give you 2 seconds of his backstory. This is a guy that weighed 300 pounds before he joined the military, lost 100 pounds in 59 days to report to SEAL training camp, the Buds. He lost multiple friends in a helicopter crash, decided he wanted to raise money for the kids of the fallen soldiers, and Googled the 10 hardest things to do in the world, and literally became probably he's coined the toughest man on the planet, but certainly one of the best endurance athletes to ever grace Earth. He set the Guinness Book of World Records for the most pull-ups. He did 4,030 in 17 hours. He's placed top 3 at Badwater and multiple endurance races. Ultraman, he came in second in Hawaii. And he's just an amazing guy. And, part of his story is, in a lot of the things that he's done, he's failed. He failed 2 attempts to break the Guinness Book of World Records for pull-ups. But he has that discipline that, we're all disciplined, but he has the ability to be consistently disciplined, which is so hard, and the will to continue until he hits his goal.
Well, it's fascinating that he flips it on its head. It's something you describe so perfectly in your book, which is where most of us would go, oh, I can't do it anymore. This is so painful, difficult, tired, whatever that situation is. He takes and flips that on its head. It's sort of like if you took a top cyclist, or when I was in the game, or so many others, the best of the best know that when everybody else is hurting, that's actually your opportunity. And he knew when he was hurting, that was the opportunity for greatness inside of him.
Yep. He would look for the like his motto he loves in races when he sees people suffering or hurting, or when they turn the corner or hit the wall, whatever you want to, because that's when he really buckles up. That's when he buckles in and says, I can outwill this person. One of my big takeaways from living with him is one of the first lessons I learned when he came over to my house. 5 minutes into our journey, we went downstairs. It's in the book. And he wanted to see how many pull-ups I could do. And we get to the pull-up bar, and I did 8. Dropped down. He said, all right, wait 30 seconds and do it again. And I did 6. He said, all right, wait 30 seconds, do it one more time. And I barely, kicking my legs, squeaked out 3. And I was done. My arms were hurting, lactic acid. I was jacked up. And he said, all right, we're not leaving here until you do 100 more. And I said to him, that's great in theory, but that's literally impossible. And he said to me, I'm going to teach you your first lesson right now. And that is that most of the limitations you put on yourself are self-imposed. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. And I stayed there. It took me about an hour and a half, but one by one, I did 100 more. And what he taught me was that we all, yes, our limitations are self-imposed in all the different areas of our life. But 2, we all have this reserve tank. And he called it the 40% rule, is that when your brain, we're wired so at any point of discomfort or pain, we get a little tap on our shoulder, if you can see this on your screen, and that's our brain telling us to stop, because our brain doesn't want us to get hurt. That's a warning sign. That doesn't mean stop. We all have so much more that we can do when we tap into our reserve tank, and that's the only way you get better. And as a runner, I see this all the time. 600,000 people ran a marathon or entered a marathon last year in this country, and like over 95% finish. They all hit the wall. Why did 95, it's actually I think 98% finish these marathons and break through the wall? Because they tapped into their reserve tank and they ignored that tap on the shoulder. And that's what it's all about. And the only way to really improve, and that's what I needed, because I was listening to I wasn't listening to the tap on the shoulder. I was like, I got my miles in, I'm in my routine, I'm done. The only way to really get better is to experience some pain, to exceed your limitations, and to push yourself.
So what were the ground rules when he came in, and what did you think you were in for?
Well, the ground rules were simple. Anything that he said I had to do, or he was going to leave. And I think the biggest surprise was I thought that we would ease into this. 31 days, we would take the mileage up 10% every week, like the stuff you read in books. There was no easing. We dove right into it. It was every day.
I like that. He called it, what was it, like a base mileage, 3 days of base?
Yeah. He said, we're going to run twice a day, 10 miles or something a day, 6 in the morning, 3 at whatever it was. And then we're going to start 3 days later. Like, you'll have your base. And I said, 3 days to build a base. And what was funny is he has such an unorthodox approach. Every day was different. And I to me, it was like, this doesn't make sense. And not all of it was physical. A lot of it was mental. It was about getting me out of my daily routine. So some days, one day, he had me jump into a frozen lake. He cracked a hole in a lake and maybe jump in the lake. And one day he would wake me up at all these different things. And really what he was doing, I didn't understand it at the time, but it became really clear to me at the end, is I had lost my motivation over time. I had successfully done a lot of things that were successful, and my motivation was starting to fade. And there's a strong difference between motivation and mental toughness. And motivation is, we read about motivation all the time, and that's great. But let's say I was motivating, I want to run a 10K.
Yeah.
And I read all these motivational books, and I'm all jacked up. I'm going to go run this 10K. I'm going to start tomorrow. And I open up my door, and it's 26 degrees out, dark and wet and windy. The motivation goes away pretty quick when that wind hits you in the face. It's the mental toughness that's the difference in business, in training, in everything. And we're all born with this, what I call a mental toughness meter. And mine, on a 1 to 10, mine might be a 3. Michael's, you might be a 6. The listener might have a 2, might have an 8. We all have it, but it's like a muscle. And the more you get uncomfortable and challenge yourself, the more that meter notches up. And the amazing thing about mental toughness, in my opinion, is once it goes up, once you reset your set point, it never goes back down. If you keep using it, it never goes back down. So his motto was, every day we have to do something that sucked. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And little by little, he was notching up my mental toughness meter. So when I open up the door and it's 26 degrees, cold, wet, and windy, I don't give a shit. I'll go out because my meter's here. My set point has been elevated. And
it sounds like it's almost making a promise to yourself and learning how to keep that promise to yourself. That no matter what, you're going to do it. And when you do it, you get more comfortable with it. And then you can do something harder and something harder. And your confidence must go through the roof.
Your confidence goes through the roof. And I think the key to that is to keep doing it and pushing it, is to not dwell. He and I were very similar in that regard. We never really celebrated accomplishments or victories or workouts or triumphs. It was like we checked the box and tomorrow's a new day. Okay, you ran the New York Marathon. Great, celebrate it today. Well, what does tomorrow look like? Let's not spend 6 months telling the world that we ran the New York Marathon. That's not going to make us better. Let's keep that in our top drawer and let's go do the next thing. Let's build our life resume. So, it's just a theme that he and I have both had as it relates to building life resumes and living that life with as many challenges, not necessarily accomplishments, challenges as you can.
The journey.
All about the journey. It's not about crossing the finish line. It's about the journey. You look at I love sports analogies because I think they're so great. But you look at these new UFC fighters, this mixed martial artists. They train 6 months, 6 hours a day for 6 months to step into the octagon for maybe a 14-second fight. It's all about the journey. The result of the fight is the result of the fight. But it's that 6 months of 6 hours a day that matter.
So what were some of the most interesting pieces early on in your journey with him?
It was to me, it was just how outside of my comfort zone he was able to take me, and getting comfortable in the consistency of it. It was just mind blowing. And I was fascinated with, he put so much more on my plate from a time perspective, but he taught me to take this onto my plate to become way more efficient with my time. So a lot of my day was taken up by people, by requests that I really felt obligated to say yes to, because I don't want to make someone feel bad. I don't want to say Jesse's an asshole. He doesn't have lunch with me. Someone wants advice. Someone wants tickets. Someone wants this. And I was saying yes. And I realized that I was losing control of my own time. So I immediately started saying no, taking what he had onto my plate. And I started feeling like I had 28-hour days, like I was doing so much more by eliminating a lot of the things that were coming at me.
That's fascinating, because at the same time you were training like you were a full-time pro athlete.
Yeah, but we all have arrows that come at us every day. A car gets a flat tire, something breaks at the house, there's a phone call, there's a medical situation, there's work, there's bills. We're dodging arrows all day long. And when you really look at it, and you look at your day, and you look at how you spend your time, a lot of it isn't your time. A lot of it isn't like your time. One thing I've done, Michael, and I don't want to sound like this know-it-all, but this is something that works for me, is I just made a very simple pie chart of my time. And I'm like, all right, I sleep 7 hours a day. I work 7 hours a day, 14 hours. I need 3 hours a day for me. I've carved out 3 hours for me, and that could be emails, it could be reading, it could be sitting in a sauna, it could be working out, and then the remainder of the time is split between my family, meals, travel, etc. And it's a very simple way to graphically look at what's important to me and how I spend my time. It's been a really, really effective thing for me, and I keep it by my desk. And it changes. It changes. If I have a big project, maybe my work goes to 8 or 9 hours. But I always have those 3 hours for me,
How are you tracking them?
I just keep a mental note of it. As I start my day, I'll say, all right, well, today, I worked out for an hour and a half. Yep. I read the paper, took a sauna. I did the things and that's really important. You know why? It slows those arrows down. Because the arrows always come at you. But if you have a little bit of 3 hours, and that's my form of meditation. I don't meditate. That's my meditation. I like to run. I like to be quiet in the sauna and just do my own thing. But I really feel strongly that, working on you and improving you and slowing you down will improve your business and other things, because all of that is just a reflection of you. The better you, the better they.
I love that. What did Seal, or David, what was his role? Because it seemed like in the book, he sat like mountain. What was his role in making you more present?
I didn't have a choice, because he pushed, the challenges were so intense, there was no time for distraction. And that was another lesson. He forced me to be present in first of all, he was a super intimidating guy, scary intimidating. And
examples?
Physically imposing, in really tough, challenging background, childhood. He was an African-American guy who lived in Brazil, Indiana. There were maybe 10 African families, American families out of 10,000 families. 20 miles from where the Klan was headquartered. So he had an abusive dad. Just a really, really difficult childhood. He saw his stepdad get murdered when he was a young kid, and he was angry. And his anger is part of what motivated him, but it was also what made him super intimidating. And, he didn't take no, he didn't take tardiness, he didn't take excuses. He didn't grow up with any of that. He didn't have he did everything himself. He's a self-made guy. He's a successful guy now. He's an accomplished Navy SEAL and an American hero. I had so much respect for him. And all of those things added up to a boatload of intimidation.
Sitting right next to you.
Breathing on you.
So you actually, kind of taking a little bit out of your story here, you had him with you 24/7. You even brought him to business meetings, if I understand correctly. I did.
When he agreed to do this, I had to do everything he said, and he was going to shadow me everywhere that I went. I didn't want to cheat on the side and start eating donuts, brownies, and cookies. I wanted to get as fit as I can, and B, I wanted him to learn a little bit of life outside of the military. I thought that it would be a great experience for him as well to witness my day-to-day as an entrepreneur and get some little nuggets that could be helpful for him when he got out.
So what happened when you met Kevin Garnett and he was there?
Well, as it turns out, SEAL became like the ultimate closer, because there's a fascination with Navy SEALs. He has an incredible story, and so every meeting that I went to, everybody wanted to talk to him. I took him to meet Kevin Garnett, who I never met. I was trying to recruit Garnett over to Zico, coconut water company that we had started, and we were involved with. And we wanted Garnett as a potential investor and endorser. And at the time, he was one of the faces of Gatorade. His contract was coming up. And our brand, Zico, was starting to quickly rise. And he would be a perfect fit for us. So we flew out to Boston. I brought Goggins with me. Yep. And we walked into the meeting. And I said to Garnett, I introduced myself. I said, hope you don't mind. This gentleman's living with me. He's a Navy SEAL. I gave a little bit of his history. And then they just went at it, back and forth. How do you train? What do you do? How do you run 100 miles? Da, da, da. And before you know it, 2 hours go by.
Yep.
And Garnett's like, I got to get out of here. And I'm like, we just flew out. I'm like, well, what about Zico? And he turns to me and says, look, if you guys are in, man, whatever you guys do, I'm in. And that was it. I said, yeah. I said, all right. I said, you know what? I turned to Goggins. I'm like, you want to go to the next meeting with me too?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So backing up, if you don't mind, I want to ask a little bit about your early history, because you have a history of having meetings like this. And I thought it was crazy how you ended up getting a record deal. I wonder if you could share that story with us.
Yeah, I mean, right out of college, I went to American University in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to be in the music business. I was really into music as a kid and in high school and college. And I had a demo tape, and I sent out, when everybody else was sending out resumes, I sent out 100 cassettes. At that time, it was cassettes, and called 100 music executives, and I did not get one single response, nothing. And I was discouraged, but this is what I wanted to do. And one night when I was at a recording studio where I recorded in New York, there was a cassette on the music board of an artist named Dana Dane, black guy from Brooklyn. I was a huge fan of him, big rap guy in the 80s, and it was his second album. He recorded the session before me, and he had left an advanced cassette of his new album. So I borrowed that, took the cassette, I wanted to hear it. And I
borrowed in quotes if you're just listening to this.
Yeah, I borrowed it in quotes. And I got on a plane a couple of days later to visit a friend in L.A., and on the way out, I read that a music executive in L.A. at a label called Delicious Vinyl, which was a really cool independent label at the time, loved, his favorite artist was Dana Dane. So when I landed, I called up his assistant, out of the yellow pages, and I said, I have an advanced copy of Dana's cassette, and Dana wanted me to play it for Mike Ross, who was the CEO of this company, and the assistant put me on hold, and after about 2 minutes, she came back on the line and said, Dana, Mike would like to see you at 2 o'clock. So she thought I was Dana Dane. So I said, Roger that, I'll be there. And so at 2 o'clock, I buzzed myself in. I said, hey, I'm Dana here for Mike. She said, come on in, Dana. Walked into Mike Ross's office. He walked in about 5 minutes later, said, who the hell are you? I said very quickly, I'm a friend of Dana's, and I have his cassette. He's running behind. While we wait, would you mind if I just pop in my cassette? I think Dana probably wants to play you his in person. And he said, what do you do? He said, what do you do? I said, I rap at the same place Dana does. He says, get out of here. So I threw it in, and he listened to about 30 seconds, and he said, who's your lawyer? And I got a record deal, and that was it.
Wow.
And the CEO of this company, Mike Ross, signed my wedding license, and Dana Dane was at my wedding. He's a great friend of mine today, years later. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And when I wrote the book, I put the story in the book in more detail, and I sent it to Dana. And I said, Dana, I don't even know if you fully know this story. And we laugh about it all the time.
Going from there, one more story on this topic, which is, I'm probably not going to get the timeline quite right. You went from rapping yourself to starting your own label to a 1-800 Playmate.
Yeah. I got a call from Mike Ross, actually, at the label, and said he has an artist that he doesn't think he could produce, but thought that maybe might be a good fit for me.
Yeah.
So I said, why do you say that, Mike? He goes, well, she's not super talented, but she's super good looking. And you might be interested. I was a single guy, might be interested in whatever. So I get her on the phone. I ask her to sing literally Happy Birthday on the phone. And it sounded like Old MacDonald.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then I had a picture of her, and I said, you know what? Why don't you come to New York and let's work on an album? Long story short, while she's in New York, she bumps into the producer of the Howard Stern show, who asks her to come on the show and to promote her. We had done a CD with her, and she was gonna be a centerfold in a magazine, and we were promoting the CD like through the magazine, like as an insert. And
this is like Playboy or something like that?
One of the big ones.
Yeah.
And so Stern gets her on the show under one condition. She has to come in completely naked and do the whole show naked. She says no problem. She goes on the show. I'm like, this is our chance. So we set up an 800 number.
Yep.
Sell her cassette. Like, she's going to play the music on the show, on the Stern show, give this 800 number, and everybody can call up and like get a chance if you buy a CD to win a date with her. I'm like, we're going to sell
You're in the money.
We're done. Cost us 50 cents to make a cassette or CD. Stern's got a bazillion listeners. She's on fire. Boom. So we get this 800 number set up, 300 people at the call center. We practice the whole routine the night before. She goes on the show. He plays the music. People are flipping out. They can win a date. Stern's going crazy. What's the number to buy the cassette? She forgets the number and gives my home number.
Oh, no. On
the Stern show. So that was the end of that. I mean, I'm trying to take calls and people are breathing in my phone at midnight, phony phone calls, and it was nuts. But,
oh, man. So, okay, let's go back to the story of Seal here. Was there a point that you thought of quitting?
Oh, yeah, many times. Many times. I was really tired. I was really being pushed. And sometimes I was literally scared because he had no limits and I do have limits.
What's an example? Because, I saw you running in the middle of the night and running in blizzards. And what was the toughest stuff he was having you do?
It was just the cycle. It was just the consistency of it. But, when we jumped into this frozen lake, we were in Connecticut where I have a home on a lake and kids were playing hockey. They came to a halt. He goes out, grabs a boulder, and like Rocky starts pounding this boulder in the middle of the ice. The ice shatters. You hear all the stories about going on ice and ponds, and he doesn't give a shit. He splashes through, water comes up like he cracked a coconut. He takes off his clothes and jumps in. Tells me to jump in. I'm not jumping in. Oh yeah, jump in. I jump in the thing, I'm freezing, and I go to get out. Now, if your hands or any part of your skin, when it's wet, touches frozen ice, you're done. You can't, it's stuck. Like the kid in Toy Story who puts his tongue on the frozen pole. So right when I'm about to get out, he's like, don't move. And he throws me my shoes, and I put my hands in my shoes, and I put my socks on my feet, and I bear crawl out of the ice, up and then sprint up because he's yelling to me, in 5 minutes you're going to have frostbite, get the hell into the house. So we're running through 12 feet of snow. My wife is looking out the window. She's going crazy, and we come in the house, and she says to Seal, she's like, David, what in the world is the medical benefit of jumping into a frozen lake? And he looked her dead in the face and said, there is none. This is what your husband signed up for. And that's what there were times like that where it was just like I was questioning the style of what was going on. Like, what am I really doing? I'm a dad. I'm in my 40s. Why am I jumping into frozen lakes and running in blizzards at 4 a.m?
And day after day after day. But you were improving through that process, right?
Yeah, so when he moved in, this is fascinating. I could do 22 push-ups. I'm not even kidding. When he left, I was doing 1,000 a day. And I had been a runner. I'd run, 25 plus marathons. I'd run 100 miles. And he knocked 1 minute off of my mile pace in my regular daily runs, which is insane in 30 days. Like, you shave 7 seconds, you're a rock star. He knocked a minute off. And it was a combination of running in the hills, running in elements, sprinting, long runs. He did it in a way that it worked. It was wild.
So now he's an interesting character too. I loved reading some of his stories, particularly about security. Like he went up to, I think it was your home in Connecticut, the one on the lake that you're talking about. And I wonder if you could share about that.
Yeah, he was going up to our house, and I said to him, David, you know what? You're an expert. Would you mind just doing a walkthrough and telling me where we're lacking as it relates to security?
Yeah.
I'm a layman, and just tell me. So he came back and he sat me down and he said, man, can I curse on this show, Michael?
Go for it. I can beep out what I need to.
He came back to me, and we're on a serene lake, and he said, man, you guys are fucked. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, the perimeter is not secure, the windows, da, da, da. And I said, well, what do you recommend? He said, I suggest that the first thing you do immediately is bulletproof and secure all the glass. There's too much glass. I said, all right, well, get me an estimate on it. So he comes back the next day and he says, well, there's two ways to do it. He goes, we could just do the ground floor, which will cost about $200,000. Or he goes, I think we do the whole house, which he goes, personally to me is a no-brainer, which will be about $800,000. I said, you want me to bulletproof our glass on Candlewood Lake where people paddleboard and sailboat, and sail for $800,000? And so that was his mentality. Like you can never be safe enough, and you have to take caution.
So what did he get you then to help you escape from Manhattan if need be?
So in our apartment in Manhattan, he came home one day with an inflatable raft with a motor, and and it was about 80 pounds, and it was in a camouflage knapsack.
Yep.
And he had 4 oars just in case the motor didn't, deploy. And I asked him, I said, Goggins, what is this? And he's like, this is how you're going to escape out of Manhattan if we were on lockdown. And I said, well, why would we be on lockdown? He said, because 9/11 or anything like that, you shut down all the tunnels and bridges. Where are you going to go? I'm like, you're right. He's like, I'll tell you where you're going to go. You're going to go across the river. You're going to row this boat right across that river. And so my wife came in, and I told her the great news. We have an escape vehicle. We can get out of New York if it gets shut down. And she puts it on, and she literally falls down. It's 75 pounds. And she says, well, how am I supposed to use this thing? I'm supposed to put this on my back, and it's 80 pounds, hold the oars and carry our son, and then paddle all the way to New Jersey? And he looked at her right in the face. He says, Sara, don't ever underestimate adrenaline.
I love it. What were you getting then? What was the inner power being built in you by him?
It was this mental toughness that I talked about earlier. It was that raising that meter and, just approaching things with a different level of confidence and accepting and appreciating the challenge and not being scared of the result of the challenge. As an entrepreneur, so often, we don't do things because of fear. And he taught me that I had to dive into anything. There was no time to be scared of the challenges he presented. He presented them real time. Here's what we're doing right now. And the little birdie in my head was like, I don't have a choice, otherwise this guy's leaving. And then how could I let down a guy that's been to multiple tours, 20 plus years military, served our country, and volunteered to come help me get better? How could I say no? So I didn't have time to be scared.
But how are you using that now? How did that wire in?
Well, a lot of the rules that I talked about on our little conversation just now still apply to me. He's become like this Obi-Wan Kenobi figure to me that kind of whispers in my ear and now taps me on the shoulder. I always think about the 40% rule. So whenever I get tired in a race or in a workout, or when I don't want to go do something, I think to myself that I'm not done. I have so much more in my reserve tank. I've created a little mantra in my head, that I refer to that kind of gets me through stuff. It's my own personal thing my little rallying call.
Can you share that?
You'd have to beep the whole thing out.
Okay.
And I hear his voice a lot telling me that that I'm capable of doing more. And I've become comfortable getting uncomfortable. It's become a regular thing in my life. And I'll tell you, it doesn't necessarily have to be about hiring a Navy SEAL, going to extremes, jumping in frozen lakes. It could be as simple as changing the way you go to work, stopping your routine from what you listen on the radio. For me, I do one simple thing. I leave every shower now with freezing cold water because
Myself
I hate
as well.
But I do it because I hate it, not because it makes me feel good. Because I hate it, but it's a daily reminder to me that even if I do nothing else, at least I shocked my system and I did something already today.
Yeah.
That I'm now comfortable with getting uncomfortable, and it's a constant reminder to me in the morning when I get out of the shower that I'm going to challenge myself.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Another thing that seemed really cool that he talked about that you have in the book, protecting your primary.
Yeah, and I just, he reminded me that we often lose focus of what's really important, and it goes back to the arrows I was talking about. We get distracted, we lose focus. The stuff that we really probably gives us the most amount of anxiety, bills, money, work, being liked, all that stuff, are really not as important as what's underneath your roof. And we lose track of that. And he grounded me a little bit as it relates to that. And that's in the book.
Can you share briefly, you've gone on since that time period, how in the world did you end up buying the Atlanta Hawks, who are now doing quite well?
We are doing well. Well, I'm in Atlanta full-time. I've been a season ticket holder for years. I fell in love with the team. I fell in love with the coaching staff and the community. I'm a basketball fan.
Yeah.
And, if I could write down what would be the dream scenario for me or the dream thing to be involved with in the next chapter of my life, it would be this team. Not a professional basketball team,
Yep.
this team, because I fell in love with this team and this organization. So when the team became for sale, I raised my hand in a big way and said that I want to be involved. Mm-hmm. And, the process was intense and hard, but I did it. I went through it with a small group of friends, of a really dynamic, eclectic group of guys. It's kind of like, I think we're kind of like a unique ownership group, because we have entrepreneurs, we have finance experts, we have an ex-NBA player in Grant Hill, we have a woman in my wife who's an entrepreneur. We have this great mix of backgrounds, and I think that's what Atlanta is. And I think that's going to really help as the team goes forward on the court and off the court.
What would you say has been your secret then? Is it because you've had such success both before Goggins and now afterwards, and certainly he's a big part of it. What has been your secret in saying, I see something I want to go for, I'm going to find a way to make it happen?
I think one of the greatest gifts I gave myself, and it took time and it took some painful lessons, is not being embarrassed by what other people think. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really important gift that people can give themselves, because once you get rid of that fear, a lot of other fears go away. All the other stuff that you read about, resilience and passion and all the words that are over, those are all important, and of course that's in my DNA. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is just getting over the fear of being scared. I read a great quote the other day. I don't even know who it's from. I wish I could say it was mine, but I can't. And I might even be saying it wrong. But 10 years ago, I would leave a room and I would say, God, I really hope that I'm going to say this wrong, but the spirit of it is, yes, I really hope that everyone in the room liked me. And now, when you leave the room, you really don't care what they think about you. You want to like them. You know what I mean? It's like it's flip-flopped. When you're coming up as an entrepreneur, you care or you're young, you care what everybody thinks about you. When that dynamic shifts and the confidence is like, I don't really care about what they think of me, mm-hmm. I care what I think about them. The whole world, the whole way you approach things become different.
That's a Jedi move.
It's a Jedi move. I mashed up the thing. Now I can maybe even say it's mine, but the spirit of it, you understand what I'm saying.
Woohoo! So we have a few quick wrap-up questions for you as we get to the end here. One we like to ask all of our guests, which is, what brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
I love spoiling my family and friends. Mm-hmm. So, money is great to make. My wife says it's fun to make, it's fun to spend, and it's fun to give away. Mm-hmm. I love, spending time with my family, friends, and treating them, spoiling them, doing great things. And I love being outside. I'm an outdoors guy. If I went like this tomorrow and had $50 billion, my day wouldn't change. I would do the same run I did today. I'd have the same banana I had today. I'd spend the same amount of time with my kids. And that's just what I love to do.
Beautiful. Now you're eating, I didn't even go into it, but I alluded to it at the beginning. You're eating all fruit in the morning?
Yeah, for 27 years.
And
yeah, I only eat fruit till noon.
I love it.
And that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we'll go there another time. A few last questions. Does your wife have any plans now to train with Goggins?
You know what? Everybody escaped unscathed. I think we're going to leave it like that. The friendship is there. He was actually just here, mm-hmm. but the training is done.
Fantastic. And any last words of wisdom on anything that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I just think, for me, the one lesson in my life has been that, and you hear this a lot, is you really can't rely on anybody. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, you want to make a change. It's not through motivational tapes. It's not, although I love Michael Sandler, and you have great stuff and great guests. At the end of the day, you can take the little nuggets, but you have to make the change.
Amen.
And you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be comfortable with what you see. And if you're not, you have to physically change it. And I struggle to do that. There are things in my life that, you know, are challenging that I have to work on, and it's hard. But no one's going to do it but me. No one's going to do it but me. So shame on me if I don't make those changes.
I think that's well said. I mean, not shame on anybody, but that's the hard thing. We get all the lessons, but we got to take the steps, period.
And we make all the excuses. It's so easy to blame. I have too much work. This guy's a jerk. My boss did this. This one did this. I can't get to this person. I can't. In today's world, with the computer and Google and all the access you have to advice, wisdom, books, motivation, podcasts, experts, you can get information on anything. But how you take that and weave it into your DNA and use it is up to you. It's up to you.
Beautiful. Any races coming up?
Nothing unusual, but I'm on the hunt. I got a couple of things circled, but nothing that's official.
Excellent. Where can people go to find out more and to find your book?
Thanks. So the book is available everywhere books are sold. Living with a Seal by me, Jesse Itzler. It's on Amazon. The audiobook is on iTunes, and independent bookstores, Barnes & Noble. And it's a good, fast, fun read. So I appreciate you shouting it out, Mike.
It's a fun read for everybody. I'll put it back up here again if you're on YouTube taking a look at it. We can't, without going well down the non-PG rabbit hole here, I can't read you all of the funny jokes that are in this book, but you're going to die laughing. So I can't recommend it enough. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a lot of fun, and it's been really inspiring, too, because I think, you know, we may not have that Navy SEAL with us, but if we can put a little bit of him in our heads, it can make a big difference in our lives.
Yep, and, you know, hopefully the book has, you know, I recognize that. People aren't going to hire a Navy SEAL, but the goal of the book is to give the nuggets, the life lessons that I learned, and hopefully, you know, folks can incorporate some of it if they want to.
And it'll get you. I think you'll get up from your desk every now and again and drop and give yourself a
Yeah, totally.
So I want to thank you so much, Jesse, for being on the show. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, live like a Navy SEAL, or at least get the book, and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it, man.
Everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!